um, inspiring this guy sounded, um, and how uninspiring some of the others have sounded, including Kamala Harris, which, I'm not here to bash Kamala, but just thinking about the amount of charisma that it takes to win and to win, uh, you know, to win by a lot and to win
Well,
by
look at like
like,
Obama or Bill Clinton.
yeah, yeah, for certain, for certain. And that's what I'm talking about is like those are the superstars that like we need in order to inspire people, you know? And we just unfortunately haven't had that. And once they did what they did to Bernie, there was just like no one that inspired that level of passion. But I mean, certainly not Kamala. I mean, I think when she was able to counterpoint and when she was able to like stand up for herself, like those kind of things inspired people. But when she was just answering questions, it just sounded like really uninspired. Like, what would you say to that little child who says, why can't you put your differences down and just get things done? And like, those were horrible answers by both candidates. Her and Mike Pence seemed to come out of the
And
same
like the way she
mold.
yelled, the way she yelled at Mike Pence to stop interrupting her was pretty classic.
Yeah, and that's all she's got, though. That's all she's got. I mean, that Warnock. I'm really interested interested in seeing what happens to Pastor Warnock because I only heard him speak for a few minutes, and he really reminded me of Obama, and he really seemed inspired and inspiring. And I'm like, those are the kind of people who can get people to the polls and like get people to believe.
Or even like the candidates like the Jamal Bowmans and AOCs, like who are on the
Yeah,
lower, more local level now.
yeah, yeah. No, definitely. Yeah, definitely them. Definitely them. Um, I just at some point either there's going to have to be a hijacking of the Democratic Party so we can get those kind of candidates in the foreground and get those kind of candidates, to run so people can get excited and vote for them. Because like, I've said it a billion times, but no one's inspired by centrists. They're just not. And if you are inspired by a centrist, you better be so charismatic that you fool people into thinking that you're not a centrist. You know, like you got to be like Obama or Clinton level of charisma. But the thing that the Republicans always do well is they always go to the margins and they always go to like a ridiculous level of like divisiveness or someone who's like not on the margins at all, like this whole like Tea Party level of support. I think they rile their
Well, I
base.
think Trump was on a whole new level of that.
Yeah, yeah, and he was successful. He was certainly successful. Um,
Well, once I don't think he was successful twice.
yeah, but he was so successful for someone who shouldn't have been that he's still like his problem was he was so out there that he couldn't be controlled or like he couldn't be given like a playbook to show him how to get in there again. But I mean, for his first run, that's it's a wild success story for someone with you know, zero ability, let alone experience. I just hope that
Yeah, that's true.
I just hope that someone takes over, um, whether it's like the Justice Democrats or some DSA or Working Families Party flank of the Democratic Party that gets inspiring people in there.
As long as
Because
it's not Kanye West.
well, I mean, jokes aside, the the mainstream just hasn't learned to like stop putting like, pasty, old,
Milk
boring,
toast candidates.
yeah, milk toast candidates in there. I mean, they just haven't, you know. And to be honest, like Kanye West is obviously like a horrible choice, but for what the other side does and understands what people want, whether it's the lowest common denominator or not, at least they know how to like drum up excitement, you know. And unfortunately, we like do one without the other. We'll get someone with lots of experience, but they're just not drumming up the excitement. But black women are still the most progressive voters, and then black men are the second most progressive voters. They really should be like finding, exciting progressive
Like
black women to run.
Stacey Abrams.
Yeah, Stacey Abrams. Yeah, she did a lot of great things in Georgia. I mean, I think she's an example of someone who is not. Um, I don't know how necessarily progressive she is, but I think she has been able to bring people together and show leadership in a way that's inspired people. And like, what did she get? Like 800,000 people registered to vote. So yeah,
Something like that.
those kind of things will transcend some of those politics, and I think that she could do well. It would be nice to finally like get away from like you know a centrist and like get someone who's actually a badass for like leftist culture and ideals. But it's kind
Well,
of
and
like
also to strategize for how to present that to like for how to present that
yeah,
to people,
yeah, for
because
sure.
what the other side is doing is that like we're basically at a point where like all they have to do is say he'll raise your taxes and people
Yeah,
run away. Like
yeah.
I was on the train home from work, whatever one of the days this week. I think it was on Wednesday. I think it was the day after the election.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think it was because I think that Michigan had just been called, and these two like these two guys on the train, like two, I mean, white guys,
Hmm.
although that's kind of irrelevant probably, but they were they were talking about like how, oh well, don't lose hope, Trump could still win Michigan. Like, we got to keep hoping that Trump can pull this out. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I mean, it's not completely, because there's plenty of conservatives on Staten Island or Long Island, but I'm
Right,
like, this is a strange thing to hear on a train that's going towards the Bronx.
right.
So I'm listening, but I'm trying to like keep my mouth shut. And then one of the guys said, well, I guess Biden won, but these people just don't understand. They're going to be crying in a year when they see their taxes go up. Like, like these, like, and they were wearing, like, these dudes were like wearing like construction vests. Like, I think they were blue collar workers who probably don't make enough, like, certainly don't make $400,000 a year.
Yeah,
Like,
all that stuff's irrelevant. I mean, that's the point. That stuff is irrelevant. They just like they get it in their mind. It's all about like money and appealing to you know, uh, people's selfish nature. And like you said, you talk about high taxes, and that's it. There's no. You don't have to be smart. You just like they just like say something and it riles you up, and then you repeat it. I think what Bernie was doing that was good for a while was he was very repetitive he repeated himself a lot. At one point, I thought it was getting a little bit annoying until I realized that that was kind of like what you had to do to get your point.
Like the millionaires and the billionaires and all of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, the whole taking money out of politics and all of that stuff, just repeating that stuff over and over and over and sticking to that message. And because it was a populist message, and Bernie had a great way of explaining things in a way that people could get, I think AOC took it to another level. I think AOC is like as like a, a great teacher who like students connect with very well, and I think she can take those complex issues and just let people understand like no, they're only raising taxes on the richest people. Most of us are actually going to get a lot back, and if anything, you know, we'll pay a bit less in taxes, so don't let them fool you. Like just a really easy, no nonsense charismatic approach, because people have to understand this stuff. And if you
Yeah,
just
that's what I mean. Like they gotta find somebody who could be inspiring but still explain things pragmatically and break it down for people.
yeah, yeah,
And I seem to remember, like, I was watching, this is a few months ago, like right after Jamal Bowman won his primary.
hmm
Um and he went on, and Jesus and Mero interviewed him on Showtime,
okay.
and he was commenting on how he thinks that there need to be more educators in office.
Who was saying?
And Jamal Bowman,
Oh, okay.
he was saying, like, as an educator who made the foray into politics, like,
hmm
that he thinks there needs to be more educators in office, not only like because educated, because like the interests of education need to be represented, but also because like educators are the ones that can break it down for people, because that's what we do every day.
Yeah, no, that's very important. That's super important. Um, it really is. And you know, people are going to continue to be tricked by these big ideas if someone doesn't break it down. And that's what I see in someone like, you know, in AOC, someone who's able to break those things down. See, if our side was like as crafty as the other side, you know, you and I have said this about
5,000 times.
about Cardi B, right? Like she has this amazing way of relating to the average person. She's very charismatic, and she can take these ideas, even though certain friends of ours don't get it, and that's okay. We won't mention them by name, but she can take these like somewhat complex ideas and just break them down in a really easy way to understand. Like, hey, I don't agree with all this stuff. Why does my taxes have to go to all this stuff, right? Like, wouldn't it be great if they were just going to stuff that I cared about, right? And like those, like easy to understand um, morsels are great in politics because you kind of have this every man, every woman approach, and people just like agree with you and they like you.
Well, I remember when I was canvassing, like, there was a period of time where I was always in Staten Island,
Uh huh.
but because I was getting money in Staten Island,
Yeah.
and it's like I would talk to like normally conservative people in Staten Island, where I would just say, you know, well, NIPERG is the group responsible for campaigning to get to get the landfill taken out of Staten Island, and then they'd be like, oh, here's a check. Like, you got to explain to them like things that are relevant to their lives that like your group or your candidate has done,
Yeah, for sure. For,
because they didn't want to be smelling any grass. They didn't want to be smelling any trash. Like they wanted it gone, like no matter what political party they were.
yeah, I used to do well I used to do well, um, canvassing for Nightberg at Staten Island.
Well, yeah.
A lot of down to earth people, a lot of people who got what we were about.
Well, yeah, and I always did better, like, exactly on Staten Island than in Westchester because I spoke to a lot more people who, pardon my French, but actually gave a shit about somebody besides themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I remember knocking on a door, like, that, and having a lady, in the instant I said I was from Nyberg, this lady burst into, like, this is, I don't remember where it was. It was somewhere in Westchester, and I don't care to remember what town it was in.
Yeah.
But, like, I knocked on the door, said I was from Nyberg, and she burst into tears. And she's like, absolutely not. Nyberg caused my husband to lose his job.
Oh,
And
you were gonna say it was like tears of joy or something.
I wish. Like, but she was blaming Nyberg for, like, putting more regulations on, like, how much doctors could charge. And she was literally upset because it was cutting into their household income. And I'm like,
What?
okay, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, that's a very odd. It's very odd when someone can narrow down an issue that much to blame one organization for something like that. I mean, it's like, all right. I mean, when I come back and it's an issue that you like, hopefully you'll support just as much in our favor. Like, so hopefully you'll give us just as much credit for the good things as you're giving us for the bad things.
But at that point, I was just like, I'm going to get the hell out of here.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm wasting my time here.
That's very odd that someone can say NIPERC single handedly cost someone their job. That's power.
Yeah, I think they're attributing a lot of power to one organization.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, my other favorite wasn't me that this happened to someone else, but where a guy said at the door that they didn't need to give money to NIPERG because they didn't need to be worried about global warming because they could buy their way out of any climate change. I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking, how? Like, spend enough money. Are you Elon Musk? Or you can spend enough money to terraform Mars?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess it depends on how old this person was and how far into the future he's thinking. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like I said, it wasn't me. It's just like it's a secondhand story, so I didn't see the guy.
Yeah.
But one of my one of my students today, semi-related topic. One of my students, she's writing a paper about how climate change has contributed to the increase in wildfires in California.
Uh-huh.
And so we're working on doing her research because like she's doing like a term paper in place of a science class. So she's doing it on climate change and wildfires.
Okay.
So I'm working with her on it, and she asks me, and I almost died laughing because this used to come up in conversation all the time at NIPERG, like where she asked me to explain to her why people were concerned about cows farting.
Oh, yeah. Yep. That came up every once in a while.
So I explained to her about like, the methane gas and how like the idea is of like if fewer people eat beef, then there would be fewer cows, and fewer cows means less farting and less methane.
Yeah.
So, Biden is ramping up transition planning, and some potential top White House aides could be named as early as next week.
Yeah, I wonder if transition planning also includes who's gonna like literally throw Trump out of the White House. Like, like who are
Yeah, because, like,
these? I like to shake. I like to shake their hands.
well, I feel I feel bad for those guys because, like, it was earlier today. I was reading something about how, like, Trump was refusing to concede, which we all knew he was going to do,
Yeah,
and somebody for the Biden campaign replied by saying, "Sure, go right ahead. We in the United States have mechanisms of having the Secret Service escort trespassers out of the White House."
yeah, exactly. So maybe that's who it'll be. Maybe it'll just be the Secret Service.
Well, because, like, after Biden could take the oath of office after Biden takes the oath of office at noon on January 20th.
Hmm.
Trump is a trespasser if he's still in the White House because he's no longer the president. He's an ordinary citizen.
Right, right.
So, and this will never happen, but I would love to see, like, somebody show up with a warrant for Trump's arrest the instant he's no longer president.
Yeah, I just want to see a guy like grab him, by the collar and like, awkwardly lead him away as he's almost like stumbling, being led like out of the White House.
Yeah. Well, it would be even more amusing to see him led out of the White House in handcuffs.
Yeah, I mean that's probably not going to happen, but I think he's got. I think he's probably poured a lot of energy into knowing any information like that. He would get out of there nice and early if anything like that was coming down the pike.
I mean, I think he's in for a world of hurt now, like, once he's an ordinary citizen again and not protected legally by the office of the presidency. He's in for quite a world of hurt.
I mean, technically, you're always protected, though, right? Because, right, uh, former presidents always have like some kind of protection for the rest of their life or something, right?
Well, protection as far as, like, the Secret Service, like, Jimmy Carter still has, like, security,
Yeah,
but I mean, he's not protected from prosecution,
right.
is what I mean. Like, they're allowed to indict him on criminal charges. Former presidents can be indicted on criminal charges.
Yeah. Well, this guy's got a lot of money to play with compared to most former presidents. I'm sure he'll figure.
Well, yes, yes and no, though, because technically, like, he has a lot of money, but he also has a lot of debt,
Yeah.
which is going to be coming down the pike too.
I bet he's. I bet he's asked like Elon Musk if he can get a ride out of here. He's probably asked
And
silly questions as far as like where this rocket goes.
can Elon Musk send you to? Can Elon Musk send you to Mars?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
The some of the other side has stopped watching the news now that it's apparent that Trump is going to lose. They're like calling it rigged. Some folks that
Oh yeah, and they're calling it rigged. They're sharing articles from Breitbart. Like,
yeah.
so did you hear Steve Bannon got his Twitter account permanently suspended
Mm.
because he called for putting Dr. Fauci's head on a spear?
Oh wow, wow. Yeah, now's not the time to be saying anything like that because these people. I mean, yeah, now's not the time.
Well, number one, now it's not the time because these people could be roused really easily.
Yeah,
But also, good God, I feel for Fauci. Like, he's been heroic, like, because he's basically still done a good job at getting the correct information
he's got to be sleeping.
out.
If anyone's sleeping a little bit easier, you know, January 20th, it's got to be Fauci. Like I feel
Yeah, because, like,
he's gonna wake up to like a good breakfast on January 21st. You know?
I'd be like, finally, somebody I can work with.
Yeah, someone should throw that guy a nice little party, pamper him for the day, give him a nice breakfast.
Socially distanced, of course.
Yeah, of course, of course. I'll look forward to the day where we won't have to say that anymore. It'd be nice if,
Well,
fingers crossed, like next summer maybe.
well, to be honest, I think that, like, likely the vaccine is probably going to be pushed out more efficiently under a Biden presidency than under a Trump presidency.
Yeah, well, when they develop it,
Yeah, when they finish.
I heard there was some 13 or 14-year-old girl who made some headway recently.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't read the article, but I did see that. I mean, what I do know is that at least, like, in the plan that the state has made for when the vaccine comes out, that I'm actually second priority in line to get it behind healthcare workers. Like, the next priority is anyone who works is like essential workers, which includes people who work in schools.
Okay. What about like people with asthma and stuff? They've got to be a little bit higher than the average population.
Yeah, I think, like, if people with asthma might be in the second tier, but just behind healthcare workers too. I mean, either way that applies to me. So
Yeah. Be nice if they could just like put it in the water supply, you know, make it nice and easy.
what, like the fluoride for your teeth?
Yeah. Put it in the water.
Yeah. Yeah, that would take care of the problem. But I think, like, I feel like my students should get the vaccine too, because, like, earlier than others, older because they say older students get it and transmit it at the same rate as adults do.
Right.
Like like they say elementary schools aren't as dangerous as, like, high schools right now,
Okay.
which means it's probably convenient that the high schoolers are actually the ones who don't need to be babysat. Although they're telling us that, like, and I mean, we'll see how the numbers are because the numbers have been a little bit higher lately, but they're telling us that they're going to start letting us have more kids in
Mhm.
within the next couple of weeks. I got mask shamed by the students.
For not wearing a mask?
I forgot to put on my mask, and they said, "Miss, where's your mask?" Because I don't always wear it. Like if I'm in my office alone with the door closed.
Yeah.
So I left because I had to go help. I had to go down to the cafeteria to help the kids with the computer. The kids go, "Miss, where's your mask? Don't get near me with that corona."
Yeah, that's good. At least they're learning.
But that's why, like, New York is having it a little bit easier than other places in the country because people here actually follow the goddamn rules. The lead in Pennsylvania is getting pretty close to what it was to what Trump's lead over Hillary ultimately was.
So they think Pennsylvania is going to be the deciding vote?
Well, I think the key is that he could get 270 with Arizona and Nevada,
Right.
or
Pennsylvania.
basically the other 3 states. He would still have to have a combination of the two.
Okay.
But Pennsylvania would put him to 273.
Yeah, there's over 100,000 ballots that remain to be counted. Well, that was as of 6 p.m.
Well, they came out with like 20,000, 25,000 since then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Pittsburgh dropped 10,000 votes counted an hour ago, or a half hour ago. Yeah, I don't know. I have a suspicion that they might call one of these states soon, though, because they keep stalling on TV for him to speak.
Right. For who to speak?
Biden.
Oh, okay.
Like, he said that he was gonna speak in prime time, which, most people think that means, although I guess it is 8 o'clock in other parts of the country,
Mm-hmm.
but prime time, like Eastern time, has already kind of passed. And now I just feel like that, like, the CNN people and probably on other networks that I just don't happen to be watching right now, are probably just stalling because they keep saying Biden will speak soon.
So it looks like Trump is going to win Arizona, but not by enough to win the number of votes that he needs. Is that it?
Well, no, like, he can't, like, whoever wins Arizona gets, if he wins Arizona, he would get 11 electoral votes, but that's not nearly enough to knock out Biden.
Right. Yeah. That's what I mean. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, he may or may not, because Biden's lead in Arizona is still 30,000. And I don't know how populous the counties are that are left to be counted.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see, because CNN was saying that Trump was, like, making up difference with some of the votes that are being reported from Arizona, but that it wasn't quite enough to close the gap so far.
Interesting. Yeah. So we'll probably, if not by tonight, maybe by tomorrow sometime. I've been saying the 9th, but I don't know if that number was accurate. That may have been something that I heard that like some places have until the 9th to count, unless it was the 12th. And I was thinking,
Oh yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know, but I know most of these states like are down to like overseas and military ballots, or down to provisionals, or like
mhm.
whatever the last things are to be counted. I'm getting tired, and it seems like nobody else is.
Yeah. Well, this was a good length for an episode, just to like touch base and you know just to see what it is. So yeah, I think we can call it. Um,
Yeah,
maybe we'll figure out something for tomorrow. Maybe there'll be some exciting news for tomorrow.
maybe there'll be some news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for.
All right. Have a good night.
All right. You too.